Hello, welcome to Angular Complete Series, Part 8, Components. In this lecture, we will be understanding what is a component. Components are the most basic UI building block of an Angular application. Angular components are a subset of directives always associated with a template. An Angular app contains a tree of Angular components. Every Angular application is a collection of components rendered as a tree of components. Again, any defined class with component decorator becomes a component. Similar to ng module decorator, component decorator also have options to configure the component behavior and presentation. Let's create our first component and name it as Userdetail component. Run the command ng generate component Userdetail or ng g c, where C stands for component Userdetail. Here note that when giving component name with multiple words combined, use camel case naming convention. It will help CLI to break those words properly to increase readability. Let's run the command. Alright, as you can see, our component has been generated with folder name user-detail and all component related files grouped in a well-mannered way. We could have created these files manually as well as we did in the case of the module. But here it would have been really quite a good amount of work. Notice how helpful CLI is. As you can see here, our command has generated 4 files: userdetail.component.html, userdetail.scss, userdetail.component.spec.ts, and userdetail.component.ts. This group of 4 files forms a component. That's not it. If you see here in appmodule.ts under declarations, CLI has added our newly created Angular component. Good job, right? How Angular identified the module where to add the component? It follows a simple rule. Find the nearest module to the component directory, and it is app module found as the nearest module. Alright, back to the component. Userdetail.component.spec.ts is a test-bed file. Let's not bother about this file as of now because we will be looking into it when we will be writing the unit test cases. Let's see what is there inside the userdetail.component.html. A simple paragraph tag. Let's try adding this component to the application DOM tree. To add the component in the DOM tree, we need to know what is a selector for our userdetail component. We can find it in userdetail.component.ts under component decorators options property selector. Let's add this selector to our component. Before adding the selector, let's delete all sample HTML and CSS from app.component.html generated by default. Alright, now let's add our selector app-user-detail, close the tag as an element tag. This is it. Our component is ready to be rendered. Save the changes and run the ngserve command. Let's see in the browser. As you can see, our userdetail component has been instantiated and rendered into the DOM tree. Let's copy and paste the same selector, save and observe the browser again. Our component is now rendering twice. So, with the use of a selector, you can render as many times and as many places you want. Remember, each time you include a component selector in DOM, Angular creates a new instance of the component. Userdetail.component.scss is where we will be writing our component specific CSS. In Angular, CSS applicability sequence is as follows. First, inline CSS applies, then internal, then component attached style sheet, followed by global styles. Let's give a class name to our component's paragraph element and observe how a style applies to this class. Let's apply some CSS from global CSS to this username class selector. In styles.scss, type .user-name and give it a property color as blue. Save and check the browser. Yes, the username color has changed and this is coming from global CSS. Now, let's write the same class in our userdetail.component.scss. Again, username class and then the property color as red. Save and see on browser. It has overridden the global style. Now the username is red. Similarly, if you write the CSS internal or inline, it will override respectively. Alright, so you know how you can write your CSS for a component. Now let's explore component decorator and userdetail.component.ts file. A component.ts file controls the view logic and handles view events. For example, on click, on change, etc. There are multiple options property available in component decorator. Let's see few of them which we are going to use and frequently used. Selector. The CSS selector that identifies this directive in a template and triggers instantiation of the directive. This selector we have used in our Userdetail component. As a component has to be associated with a template, we can use either template URL or template to specify the component's view. In template, we write directly the HTML which we want to be used as a component view. In template URL, we specify the URL of the HTML template which will be used as the component view. So, the next is style URLs. As we have seen, this is used to specify the style sheets which should be attached with the component. We can assign multiple style sheets, but in journal we see here only one style sheet. Alright, now we know how to generate component, write styles for a component, how to render the generated component in DOM tree, and what does each file generated in component stands for. Let's see event lifecycle hooks of a component in next lecture. We will be well known to components then. Alright, that was it for this lecture. See you in the next video. Thank you and keep learning.